We're live! Oh no, Kaila Jo froze. Am I froze?
No.
You're a little frozen. Yeah. I don't know what to tell you. Kaila Jo's here, y'all. She's frozen her serious face. Oh, she's back.
Am I? Am I here?
You're here? I see you. Are you there?
No.
Oh, I think you're here.
Nay?
Yes?
Yes? Am I
Yes?
back?
She's back!
Oh, I'm here.
Whoop, whoop.
I bet it froze me on the best face because that is always how it goes.
It was this.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Like your serious face.
Oh, good. That is something I am all the time. So serious.
Your resting face.
Yeah, great. So last week, I had a little bit of issues saying the word sommelier, which normally I can say, but it turns out when you're drinking 29, sometimes things just don't go according to plan.
It's true. 29 for the watchers at home is a high alcohol dessert wine here at Soldier Creek Winery.
Yeah,
high alcohol being the key point.
And easy to drink.
Very easy. It goes down smooth.
Yeah. So I feel like you guys were talking last week and I was over here just sipping away. And then I wanted to say the word sommelier and it wasn't going to happen for me last week. That's all I'm trying to say.
It was precious though. I loved it.
Well, the most exciting part.
Yes.
We have one.
We do. Yeah, we decided last week that we would talk about what it takes to become a sommelier. And I was like, I think I know somebody that could help us.
Yeah.
So without further ado, I think I'm going to bring him in. So we have our special guest, Caleb Kiger from.
What's up?
I got his little thing here. He's from sommelier at the Saison Restaurant in San Francisco. Welcome.
Thank you.
Are we really excited to have you here? But earlier, Megan texted me and was like, "Do you think we should like have a list of things to ask?" And I'm like, "Absolutely not." Like,
yeah, just go off the cuff.
Yeah, we have. I feel like so much stuff to ask anyway because I think this is hella interesting.
But I want you to like sort of introduce yourself and tell us like your background. Like, what's your connection with Soldier Creek Winery? Also, tell us about your cool stuff, and then like come back to that weird, sad time when you were at our winery.
Okay, so I'm just gonna start from the beginning. So I went to culinary school originally at Iowa Central, in Fort Dodge, Iowa, and I was terrible at it. Like it's a little bit. I'm being like a little facetious, but it's a lot different cooking at home than it is cooking in a professional kitchen. And so I was like, it was really hot and everyone yelled at me all the time and I wasn't really into it. So I quit. And then I was kind of just like bumming around, like looking for a job. And I had taken a wine course when I was in school. And like, that was like something that I really, really enjoyed learning about was like how tied up wine was to everything, like history and culture and food and architecture and all these things. And so I kind of ran with that a little bit. And then Soldier Creek, I drove by one day and I was like, I want to work there. So I went to the front door and then I knocked on the door. They're like, what's up? Can I have a job? And I think it was Anne that answered and she's like, no, you can't, because only the family works here. And then I came back like 3 or 4 more times in the next couple of weeks, like prodding them, like, can I have a job? Can I have a job? Can I have a job? And finally they relented and I started working there. So
that is factual. I remember that part.
Yeah, exactly. But like, it was so cool because I was helping them out with like every single component of the winemaking / sales part of it, I guess, because I'd work in the tasting room, but then be out in the vineyards and help with the production and had to clean barrels for hours during harvest and stuff like that. So it was a lot of fun, super exciting, super grateful for that as well. So I was 20 years old when I started there. And then once I turned 21, I think it was like 3 days afterwards, I took the first level sommelier exam in Las Vegas. Past that, Then I moved to Omaha, Nebraska to keep pursuing the sommelier thing because I had a couple connections there, and I passed the certified sommelier exam, the second level, 6 months later. I moved to Napa in 2017.
Oh,
I know it's I know, like, the timeline's super skewed for me now, but I was in Napa working at a small wine bar there, and then got the job at Lazy Bear in San Francisco, which is also 2 Michelin stars, and I was the head sommelier there for 2 years, and now I work at a restaurant called Saison.
yes.
So,
Wow.
Amazing.
quick path. No, go ahead.
Well, what are some of the questions? Like, you passed the first test, right?
Okay, yeah. So I should also say this. I also recently took the 3rd level sommelier exam. That's the advanced sommelier. I passed the service and the tasting portion of it, but I did not pass the theory. So I had to retake that next year, which was supposed to be this year in July, but of course COVID couldn't happen. So March, I'll be going to Portland to hopefully get through that. It was like incomprehensibly hard because I studied really hard for the test, and I knew that I did, but I was really deep on very certain regions of the world. Like, I could have told you anything you wanted about Champagne or Burgundy or Bordeaux or Alsace, any of those things, but there was like one Bordeaux question. There was no Burgundy questions, no Champagne questions. They asked me like the 4 species of agave for mezcal and like all the designations for Scotch, and like, this kind of sucks. I knew the chips kind of had to fall my way for me to pass that theory exam, but now I know it was my first time taking it, and I'll come back stronger next year. But it was very hard, super hard.
God.
Okay, so you
so many questions. Okay, go.
Yeah.
Go.
But like, so do each like, what do the tests cover? Everything?
Yeah, exactly. So a sommelier is technically a beverage professional. It's not just wine. It's about all spirits. They ask about coffee and tea. Non-alcoholic beverages are really working themselves into the exam as well. And so it's really just like a comprehensible beverage professional.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's too much.
I know. It's a lot.
How many tests are there? Or like, how many levels are there?
So there are 4 levels, but in between the 2nd and the 3rd level, that's the certified to the advanced, you have to take what's called the advanced sommelier course, where it's a 3-day course that's like just super intense with all these master sommeliers to kind of get you prepped. Because what they were finding was there's such a huge jump from the certified to the advanced in terms of difficulty that there was a lot of drop off for there. So the course kind of sets you on the right path. Like, this is how you study. This is what to expect for the test coming up.
Okay.
And
but then,
if they asked any questions about the up and coming Midwest wine industry.
Wait, what? What was the question?
Anne commented, and she wants to know.
Can I see that?
Any questions about the up and coming Midwest wine industry?
Did they ask any questions about the up and coming Midwest wine industry? I want to say yes, but there's not. But soon enough. So my big goal is to pass the master sommelier exam before they work in like China into the wine, because they're like exploding in the wine industry. I really want to get like a master sommelier exam diploma before they ask any questions about China or Iowa. So those are my 2.
Hey, well, we can help you with Iowa.
I know. I would actually probably do pretty well with the Iowa one. So
you probably would. Okay, I feel like I have more questions. Okay, so you said that you didn't pass the theory, and so you can take it again next year. Is that you can only take it once a year?
Yeah, everything's once a year. And so, like I was mentioning, the test is 3 parts. There's a service practical, where it's like a mock restaurant like environment essentially, and before you get into this room, they give you like a sheet of paper of like the situation you're walking into. So for my exam, it was like the concept was a German-based restaurant, like beer and wine house thing, which I guess you probably wouldn't known about that, because they're asking like all this food that I had I knew the word bratwurst, but I didn't know any of the other foods they were asking. Jesus. So the concept, like the situation was, it was a course number 4 on an 8-course tasting menu. They just had this course. They're about to have this course. So you have to pour that. You have to talk about the pairing for the last course and the next one. And then in the middle of you pouring, they're like, we want to order champagne. And so then you have to like do it like, what's the word? Like really fluidly to be able to like transition yourself out to champagne service. And they're trying to like throw you off at any point of the time, like whatever they can do.
Ugh, that would be so hard.
It's super stressful. But the thing was, like, I now have basically worked in fine dining restaurants for my entire sommelier career. And so like what you're doing every day is basically training you for this test. You know, it's like, it's very, very applicable because there's a lot of people that will try to take these exams that don't work on the floor of a restaurant. And especially for that service practical part, it's almost impossible because some of those really like basic tasks, like just carrying a tray with glassware, have to be completely second nature. Because if you think about the tray of glassware, you can't tell them the 13 villages in the Cote de Blanc and Champagne, right? So,
oh my gosh,
I know. So you have to be this like well-rounded.
I feel like I'm really stressed out just like listening to all of these different. Like this is much more encompassing than I thought.
Yeah, and then they also asked us, like, this is the thing that I like stressed out about the most was they have like a cocktail component where you have to make a classic cocktail for them. They'll tell you, and then they can ask. So they'll also ask you like 2 or 3 cocktails, what's in them or whatever. So like if they ask for like a Negroni, they'll be like, I don't like gin. What else could you do? Like we could do a Boulevardier. It's the same thing, but with whiskey instead of gin. So like there's so many cocktails to know, and I was just like tripping so much about the cocktail part, but
yeah. Oh my gosh.
I know.
I just assumed this whole time I was thinking sommelier is just for wine. I did not this whole time think you had to know all of these other drinks.
It's intense.
So then
oh my God, Megan and I have we're just like shoot.
Sorry.
Part about being a sommelier, like what about it brings you joy and makes you want to pursue it?
Yeah, so like I was mentioning earlier, is just I love that it's so connected to everything because I'm really into history. I really like studying history and like I listen to like history podcasts and read history books, and wine is so connected through history, right? I mean, and then the food, like I was a cook or wanted to be a chef, and so wine just goes so perfectly with food as well. And then culture and language, and like it's kind of like a way to travel almost when you're studying about these regions, you know, because you go so in depthly and you're learning about every component of this culture when you're studying the wine. So that's something I really like. But then also one of my stronger, I think, personality traits is being able to connect with people on ways that's not just wine and food. And so to be able to work in restaurants where you can do that is super fun for me.
Yeah, for sure. So my question was stupid, but do you have to like drink all? You have to like know what all of these things taste like. You have to try them all at some point in time.
Yeah, so that's a question kind of focused towards the blind tasting part of it. Blind tasting is like, it kind of sounds like a parlor trick a little bit, like, oh, I smell this. This is 2013 Burgundy from Gevrey or Chambertin or whatever. It's not really a parlor trick. It's more of like having a vocabulary and having a database of these wines that you've drank. So a really good example is like, it's a tasting that you're deducing grapes from, right? So you have this whole world of wine, grapes, right? Let's say you get a wine and it's red. Okay, that immediately eliminates half the grapes, right? So you're down to red grapes. And then you look at the color and it's purple and you can't see through it, right? So there's only like 4 purple grapes out there: Syrah, Malbec, Cabernet Sauvignon, Gamay, Cabernet Franc can be purple, but like that's basically it. So if the wine is purple, you're already down to these things. And then you smell like black pepper or you smell like green bell peppers, then it's like, oh, that's Cabernet, that's Syrah. So you're just taking all this information and like funneling it down into like the smallest piece. There'll be sometimes though that like you smell the wine, like I know exactly what this is. In which case, like you can kind of pigeonhole yourself because it might not be that, and then you just like read back to them what they want to hear. Because so for the exam, you have like 3 master sommeliers who are sitting across the table from you, and you're going through each wine, 3 whites and 3 reds, and you have 25 minutes to do it. Yeah.
Is there a palate cleanser?
What's that?
Is there a palate cleanser?
I mean, I brought my Adderall with me, but I'm kidding. It's a joke, just a joke. But yeah, you can have a palate cleanser. Yeah, this is sparkling water.
That's amazing.
I wasn't sure if there's kids on here. Probably not.
This is a 21 plus channel.
Not safe for work.
At home is an upper.
There we go.
Thank you, Megan, for the clarity on that.
I'm here for the knowing all the knowledge.
I love it.
Yeah.
So as you're explaining that, I'm like, he is a damn wine detective.
Yeah, exactly. It's really, it's you can definitely liken it to that, and some people liken it like when they talk about blind tasting, kind of like you know, for better or for worse, like a doctor trying to figure out what's wrong with you. Like you take these symptoms, you know, and then you deduce it into being this thing. You know, obviously wine's much less important, but at the same time, it's kind of similar. So.
Disagree. Wine is very
for the health.
Yes. My heart thanks me every day.
That's right. Tannins are important.
There's a comment, Kaila Jo, that I was told that would happen, so you have to read it.
From
Tammy?
Yeah.
Remember when I helped you study with your flashcards?
Oh man, I made like 500 flashcards for that first level sommelier exam, and I was like going through them, and Tammy was hitting them back with me. It was amazing. I couldn't have done it without her.
He really did. It was so many flashcards. This feels like such a long time ago. Oh my gosh.
I know.
Of it all. Like, I love that you kept going back, because quite frankly, when we're out at Soldier Creek, don't we all have the thought of like, God, I wish I worked at Soldier Creek?
Yeah, no, it was definitely like a romantic idea for me. I'm like, that would be awesome.
Yes. We have to remember that there's like the notion, but there is also toilet cleaning involved.
And there's the reality. Because you got to deal with, you know, Brandon every day. But that's, you know, so yeah. Anyways.
True that.
True.
So I'm trying to think. You already answered my question, sort of, about like how did COVID affect it. But I just heard Anne laughing about dealing with Brandon.
Oh.
She's in the back.
I can hear you in the back too.
Backing up. So with your new job though, as a floor sommelier, how does COVID affect that? Like, I mean, you're in California, so I suppose your climate's warmer and maybe you guys get to be outside, but like, how is that working for you?
So right once COVID quarantine shelter in place order hit, I was still working at Lazy Bear at the time. And so we had closed down for a couple of weeks, and then we opened up like what they called the camp commissary, where we were doing to-go sandwiches and like other items of food and wine at retail prices. So the restaurants, like, they all adapted pretty well to that in the beginning. And now with the ability to host people at a limited capacity indoors and then also being outdoors, that's been really good as well. So that the restaurant that I work at, there's a very large outdoor space where we see about 45 to 50 people throughout the course of the night. And then in the next couple of weeks, we'll have about half capacity indoors as well. But at the same time, it's a little bit peculiar just in terms of serving tables, because a lot of what we're doing as far as sommeliers go, there's a lot of happening with the face and like connecting with people, but we're wearing masks the whole time, right? And it just feels a little bit little distant. Like, it's probably like a good word for it, because we are physically distant, but also like this brain path wave, whatever, is not the same.
Yeah.
So how does this relationship start? So like, are you going up to tables and like, so I heard you're thirsty. Tell me more.
Heard you're thirsty. I take my shirt off. And yeah.
That's how you sell wine.
So at Lazy Bear, it was a lot different because let me just quickly talk about Lazy Bear. So Lazy Bear, like I said, 2 Michelin stars, but it's like unlike any other fine dining restaurant in the country. So it's a communal dining experience where it's not communal eating, because you get your own courses, like the 16-course tasting menu, but you sit in these 2 long tables of 20 people each, and you're sitting next to strangers, and so it's like this big dinner party thing.
Yeah,
But
very
you start,
European.
yeah, exactly. But you start upstairs and our mezzanine, like the upstairs part of it. And for that, the sommeliers would basically always be the ones who would be greeting people and trying to take the pulse on if they want to do like the wine pairing for the night. And that was basically at Lazy Bear what I was doing like 90% of the time, was pouring pairings for each course, talking about each wine, and then saying how it works with the course or with the dish coming up. At Saison, it's a bit different. It's much more traditional fine dining. So your individual tables, that we're doing a lot more bottle service there as well, which is really exciting for me to be able to talk about specific bottles and recommend them.
Yeah, totally. Ooh, bottle service. So like what we talked about wine prices last week. So like what are we talking here? Like I'm curious.
Yeah. I mean, like when you go to places like Lazy Bear and Saison, like you've already spent a ton of money. And a lot of the people that are going there, it's not really the first thing they think about is money. So this is actually a really fun story. Not fun, but really weird. I staged at a restaurant called Manresa. Manresa's in Los Gatos in San Jose. 3 Michelin stars, very fancy, like one of the best restaurants in the world. And they have 2 master sommeliers that work there. And keep in mind that master sommelier diploma, right, is like almost impossible to pass. It's like a 2% pass rate, incredibly difficult. And they have 2 of them, which is insane. So I was working the floor there that night, and this couple comes into the restaurant, and I see one of the sommeliers like on his phone in the back, Googling how much her handbag costed to be able to accurately give a wine recommendation within the price points that wouldn't like offend them or would be like not enough, you know? So they're like taking all these cues. Like, I don't necessarily like look at people's shoes or anything like, oh, those are Valentina shoes, I'm going to sell you some, you know, Domenico Romancanti or something like that. But at the same time, you can kind of get the vibe of the table. Like if it's a couple that scrounged and skimped, you know, to be here for this one special night, then like you're going to recommend them something that they're going to love, but it's going to be at a lower price point. It's not going to make them feel bad about it, you know? So, but I would say traditionally it's in the like $200 to $500 range for bottle service. Yeah, pairings are 200, so it's in that realm.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love it. Okay, so now I have another question while we were talking. Oh wait, sorry, we have to back up. We just jumped right into everything, and we forgot to talk about what we were drinking. And in that time, I finished a wine. It was just a sample. But we should talk about
it's a sample, 4-ounce sample. I don't know.
Well, we should talk about what everyone's drinking. So, Kaila Jo, you go.
Okay, well, first of all, I just need to let everybody know that I'm very cautiously still drinking more 29. Cautiously this time. Small sips, and I have a water on the table next to me. I got to be able to hang in with the conversation a little bit better than I did last week. So, here for it. I
love it. Okay, Caleb, what do you got?
I'm drinking Campari, not wine, but does contain alcohol nonetheless. It's a bitter aperitif liqueur from Italy. It's typically used in a lot of classic cocktails, but I drink it by itself.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. I had a sample from one of the barrels behind me, Marquette, which we haven't had in a while, so I'm really excited about it. It was delicious. And then my next glass, my real pour, it was just a sample before.
Yeah.
Fine. No, the next one was Ghost Pig. So yay. Go, Kaila Jo. I can see a question on your mind.
Well, no, I was just gonna say, are you telling everyone what you're doing next? Because there's something on your agenda.
Yeah, I have to go for a 30-minute run after this.
I'm glad you're not drinking 29.
It might be really easy. Maybe it'll be really easy.
It could be the best run you've ever had.
I'm gonna make a PR. Okay. I had another question though, Caleb. What is like? I'm gonna ask you about wine because I'm at a winery. What's your all-time favorite wine that you've had?
Yeah, my all-time favorite. I actually have an answer to it, and people ask me that question semi-frequently. But there's a really small producer in Burgundy, specifically in the village of Gevrey-Chambertin. His name is Domaine Fourier. Domaine Fourier has a really, really cool story about the grapes Pinot Noir. And the first time I ever had it was in Omaha, and it was kind of like one of those first wines where it's like, oh my God, I didn't realize wine could taste like that. So I have had it a couple more times since, and every single time it's either started or ended one of like the greatest days I've ever had. It's just like always such a thing for me. Like Domaine Fourier just is my wine. So
I love it.
yeah.
Can you describe it? Like what?
Yeah. I'll tell you the quick backstory of it if you don't mind too. And so it's a really small producer in Burgundy. They've been around since like the 70s though, and the current winemaker, his name is Jean-Marie Fourier. His father's name was Jean-Claude, and Jean-Claude was a very traditional Frenchman where he was like, he's not the most diplomatic, right? So Robert Parker, you may have heard of. He's a very influential or important wine critic starting off in the 80s. He comes to Domaine Fourier to taste the wines. And keep in mind, Robert Parker is like the shit at this time, right? He's like, everybody's listening to him. And he's at the winery and he tastes the wines, tells Jean-Claude, the winemaker, he says, the wines are really good, but they taste a lot better if you used new French oak on the wines. And that was like Robert Parker's thing, was he just loved wines that are just covered in new oak. And Jean-Claude, politely in the most French way possible, says, my job is to make the wine and your job is to taste the wine. There's the door. You can get out. So Jean-Claude tells the most important wine critic in the world at the moment to get out of his winery. And so Robert Parker goes back to New York City and he writes like this scathing review about Domaine Fourier. It's like the dirtiest cellar in all of France. The wines are disgusting. And they literally couldn't give away the wine like to their neighbors because they're just like, it's this whole thing with Robert Parker was just exploded. And then a little bit of tragedy happens. In 1993, Jean-Claude, he fell into a fermentation vat and he died. I know. And then Jean-Marie, it's a true story. Jean-Marie, the son, takes over at the age of like 17 years old and then has like completely revamped it. And now it's one of the most highly allocated wines in the world. Like the city of San Francisco got like a case of it this year, like the entire city. And it's incredibly expensive. And it's just like the most perfumed, most balanced wine I've ever had. So like I said, it's Pinot Noir. And it kind of goes through this weird stage where it's really amazing in its youth. So like current vintage to 2 years out is incredible. And then it kind of goes through this like dormant phase where for the next like 10 years, it's not as good. And then after 10 years plus, it's just, again, like the most amazing wine ever for the rest of its life. So it's like up and down.
Oh my God. That's amazing.
It's super cool.
Thank you for all of that. That I see why you're so good at your job. Like I can.
I like telling stories. It's something I enjoy doing. And luckily, I have a platform where people like will listen to it because they have to, because they're stuck in their seats and they spend a lot of money. So it's like, you have to listen to me now.
Wow. I gotta say, the whole like fell in a vat thing coming. Like that really just fell out of left field. So I like it.
I was not doing that. No.
You get your toes. And like the fermentation vats are right behind Megan, I can see, which maybe was in poor taste, but be safe. Be safe out there is what I'm saying.
Totes. Yeah, we have a whole
also
catwalk.
He was probably drunk as hell, like trying to like do pump downs, you know? And it's like,
whoops.
And there it goes. Whoops.
Yeah.
But like that stuff happens. This is kind of a morbid topic. Maybe I'll just leave it there. We can change it.
No, this is Iowa. They're fine.
Well, seem like people fall into those corn things, right? The corn silos.
Yeah.
That's like more freaky to me.
That happens very often. Yeah, I mean, imagine. It's easy to imagine drowning in something. I know you're right. This is getting weird, but it's easy to imagine. But like drowning in something that's like it's dry.
Can't do it. Can't even think about it.
No. Yeah. The thought of it.
This conversation has me wishing I just had more 29 because it would do the.
So have you guys been to? Have you been to San Francisco or Napa before? Either of you?
No.
All right. Well.
So bad.
Okay. So contrary to popular belief, like Napa is still intact. There was quite a bit of wildfires this year, but everything's fine. So come up to Napa and drink some wine. It's really fun.
It's on my list, and now once COVID is gone, it's so weird. Like I moved to Germany before I went to California. Like I don't.
Yeah,
I'm gonna get there. It's gonna happen.
Gonna get there eventually.
Anne commented that she's never done a drunken punch down, so she practices safe tactics.
Hey,
Good.
Continue being safe. But you should have added the word "yet" at the end.
Yet.
like
Sounds like a
harness.
Yeah, harness. Oh, that's smart. Okay,
so when you were in Germany, Megan, did you visit like all the wine regions, like the Mosel and the Rheingau, and did you go to all those places?
No, we were there for such a short time. But we did go. Like, okay, this isn't a German wine region, but we went to the Alsace region. Alsace. It is just over the border, so I guess
Yeah, exactly.
We lived in Baden-Württemberg, and they make wine there. I mean, they must make wine everywhere. I don't think it's not a wine region, but I would say the wine there was very, very similar to Iowa wine. Strangely, high acid,
high acidity. Absolutely, the Germans like high acidity for sure.
Yeah, it was good.
Awesome.
I can't think of any more questions. Kaila Jo, did you have any more? Because I lost mine. All of mine have gone out the window.
No, I feel very satisfied with how this went today. So.
Great. Me too.
I do have one more. Okay, so like how many steps are you away from like being so it's a master sommelier? Is that like the highest?
Yeah, exactly. But like I said, that exam is like nearly impossible. They've only ever had like 240 people pass it ever. And there's like a certain population of people that like no matter how smart they are, they just will not be able to pass this exam. So for the intro and the certified and the advanced, those are all written exams for the theory portion, right? Which like you can be a good test taker and like pass those exams with like tips and like tricks for that. But then for the master sommelier exam, it's again 2 master sommeliers sitting across the table from you who are verbally asking you questions for an hour and a half of just the most esoteric stuff. And so that is like much different because you can't really like use your test taking strategies to do that. So that was what throws off a lot of people. And now you have to pass the master's theory before you can take the other 2 parts, the service and the tasting. And with that exam, you have 3 years to pass all 3 parts. Otherwise, you have to reset and retake everything again.
Oh my God.
I know. I have a friend that I worked with here in San Francisco. His name is Andre. He's actually from St. Louis, Midwest guy as well. Nice. He just passed the master's sommelier exam last year, but he reset, meaning that he had passed theory 4 times and had to reset because he could not pass tasting. Every single 3 years, he tried to pass tasting like 15 times. And
is that 12 years?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It's insane.
That's insane.
So, and it's expensive too. Like each part is $1,200, plus you have to travel.
Do you pay for that, or can you get like your restaurant to like pay for that for you?
Yeah, depending on like what kind of wine program and like how their focuses lie. Like at Saison and at Lazy Bear and a lot of restaurants here, you typically don't have to pay for much. At Lazy Bear, they would pay for half of it, and then if you passed it, they would pay for the other half. So it was kind of like this incentive to study more. Kind of messed up, but at the same time, it's at least I got $500.
Yeah. Yeah, no kidding. So, okay, so you said it's really hard. So, like, are you prepping us to say that you're not going to try it, or do you think you're going to try it?
No, I'm 100%. And my goal. So I'm 26 years old. My goal is to pass the master's sommelier exam before I'm 30. So in the next 4 years, I have absolutely no doubt in my mind that I'll pass this advanced exam here in March coming up. There's not really a question. And then just go full dive into esoteric master's theory.
Oh my goodness.
I'm gonna be like insufferable to be around for the next like year and a half. But once that's over, it'll be a lot more fun.
Well, you were fun today. So thank you.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I feel like this is the longest we've ever gone, so we probably better end it.
All right,
But
cool. Thank you guys so much.
with us. Yes. So cheers to y'all.
Cheers, everyone.
And we'll see everyone next time.
Sounds good.